His hand lingered against my thigh longer than it should have. We were sitting in his car, parked behind an empty strip mall in the late evening, the kind of place no one really pays attention to. The world outside was dark, quiet, still, yet inside that car, everything felt loud, heated, alive. His breath came slow but deep, and I could feel the tension crackling between us like an electric wire about to snap. "Do you want me to stop?" he asked, his voice low, almost daring. I should have said yes. I should have pulled away, opened that car door, and walked back into the night like a good wife, like the woman I had promised to be. But instead, I froze, caught in that dangerous place between fear and desire. My wedding ring pressed against the leather seat as if reminding me who I really was, but his touch had a stronger voice. I leaned closer. My lips parted, but before I could give in, before I could let myself tumble over that edge, I pulled back sharply. And now, before I take you deeper into this story, let me pause for a second. Backhand index pointing right if you're listening to me right now. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone you trust, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the rest of my confessions. What I'm about to tell you, it's raw, it's messy, and it's the kind of thing most women would take to the grave. But I can't. Not anymore. So let me take you back to where it all began. It started so simply, almost too ordinary to matter. I was standing in line at my neighborhood coffee shop, the kind of place I stopped at every morning on my way to work. My life, at that time, looked like the perfect picture of a suburban wife. Married 7 years, nice little 2-story home in the Midwest, a husband who worked hard and provided stability. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had routines, grocery runs on Sundays, family dinners on Fridays, the occasional weekend trip to the lake. From the outside, everything seemed good. Maybe even enviable. But inside, something was missing. Something I couldn't quite put into words back then. That morning, I noticed him before he noticed me. He was in line ahead of me, tall, broad shoulders, the kind of confidence that made a man stand out without even trying. He glanced back, caught my eyes, and smiled. That smile, it was quick, casual, but it carried heat. And I felt it. I felt it in a way I hadn't felt anything in years. He held the door for me as we both left, and for a moment, I thought that would be the end of it. Just another stranger passing by. But fate, or whatever you want to call it, had other plans. Because I saw him again. At the gym. I'd been going to that gym for months, dragging myself through cardio and weights because it felt like the only me time I had in the middle of everything else. And there he was, lifting, sweating, focused. When our eyes met that second time, I swear the air shifted. "Guess we've got the same habits," he said, tossing me that same smile I remembered from the coffee shop. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. But inside, my heart raced in a way I didn't want to admit. Later that week, I mentioned him casually to my sister. Not because I thought anything of it, but because he was new in town and people talk. My sister's reaction stopped me cold. "Oh, I know about him," she said. "Be careful. He's trouble. I've heard stories. Just don't get too close." Trouble. That was the word she used. And then my friend Jenna at work said almost the exact same thing when I mentioned seeing him at the gym. "Girl, don't mess with him. Seriously. He's the type that gets in your head. I've seen it. Everything they say about him, it's not good." I should have listened. I really should have. But I didn't. Instead, I let myself get curious. One evening after a workout, as I was grabbing my bag from the locker room, I found him waiting just outside. He leaned casually against the wall, phone in hand, as if he had all the time in the world. "Headed home?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied, keeping my tone light, neutral. "You want to grab a smoothie or something?" No pressure. I almost said no. In fact, the word no was on the tip of my tongue. But then I looked at him, those sharp eyes, the way he carried himself like he knew exactly what he wanted. And something inside me, something that had been asleep for years, woke up. Sure, I heard myself say. And that was the first step. I told myself it was harmless. Just a drink, just conversation. Married women are allowed to have friends, right? But the truth is, it didn't feel harmless. It felt charged. Dangerous. Every word he spoke, every way he looked at me, pulled me in closer. Over the next few weeks, we ran into each other more and more. Coffee, the gym, little excuses to talk. He had this way of making me feel seen, like I wasn't invisible, like I wasn't just a wife who cooked and cleaned and smiled at family dinners. He made me feel like a woman again. That's when the lies began. Small ones at first, telling my husband I had to stay late at work, or that I was meeting a friend for dinner. Lies that gave me space to see him, to let this new world unfold. Looking back now, I realize I had already crossed a line before we even touched. Because desire isn't always about the body, it starts in the mind. And in my mind, I was already his. That night in his car, the one I told you about at the beginning, that wasn't the first time we had been close. But it was the first time I admitted to myself how far I was willing to go. And as much as I want to say I regret it, I don't. I'll never forget the warnings, though. Every single one of them told me to stay away. But everything they warned me about? It was true. And that truth was only just beginning to unfold. I told myself it was harmless. That first drink with him, the first time I laughed too hard at one of his jokes, the first time our conversation slipped into personal questions, things I didn't even share with my husband anymore. Harmless. That's what I kept repeating like a prayer. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. The way he looked at me, it wasn't the way a man looks at a friend. And the way I looked back? God help me, it wasn't innocent either. It started with the texts. At first, just a thank you after we hung out. Then casual little things throughout the day. Morning beautiful, did you get your coffee yet? Or you crushed it in the gym today, I could barely keep up. Each time my phone buzzed, my heart gave a guilty little leap. I would hide the screen, tilt it away from my husband if we were sitting on the couch together. My fingers would fly across the keys, faster than I ever texted anyone else. You're too much. Stop, you're gonna get me in trouble. You noticed me at the gym? Flirty. Dangerous. Addictive. I told myself I could stop whenever I wanted. I told myself it was just a game. But it wasn't. It was a fire, and I was feeding it every day. The first time he touched me wasn't even in a private place. We were standing outside the gym, the air warm and sticky, the parking lot half empty. He leaned in close, pretending to whisper something, and his hand brushed my arm. Just a graze, light as air. But my skin burned. Careful, I whispered, my eyes darting around. He smirked. Relax. No one's paying attention. And maybe no one was. But in that moment, I was hyper-aware of everything. The pulse in my throat, the sweat on my palms, the heat crawling down my spine. That night, I lay next to my husband in bed, staring at the ceiling. He was snoring softly, one arm thrown across his chest, his body turned away from me. I wanted to feel something, anything, but there was only silence between us. I thought about that touch, that smirk, the way it made me feel alive. And I hated myself for it. But I wanted more. The lies came easier than I expected. Babe, I'm staying late tonight. Reports to finish. I promised Jenna I'd meet her for drinks. There's a new spin class at the gym, I'm gonna try it out. He never questioned me. Maybe he trusted me too much, or maybe he was just too tired from his own job to care. Either way, every lie I told slipped out smoother than the last. I started choosing outfits more carefully. Not the baggy sweats I used to throw on for errands, but fitted jeans, low-cut tops, dresses that hugged me in ways I hadn't cared about in years. I told myself it was just to feel good again. But I knew the truth, I was dressing for him. Every time I walked into that coffee shop or gym, my stomach flipped with anticipation. Would he be there? Would his eyes find me the second I stepped in? Would he make me feel like the most irresistible woman in the room? The answer was always yes. One night, after a girls' night lie, I ended up sitting across from him in a quiet diner just outside town. He had picked the spot, secluded, dim, the kind of place where couples sneak away when they don't want to be seen. "You know this is dangerous, right?" I said, stirring my coffee even though I had no intention of drinking it. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, his eyes locked on mine. "So what? You afraid?" "Yes," I admitted. "And no. I don't know." "You feel it, though. Don't lie." And I couldn't. Because I did feel it. The pull. The heat. The way every cell in my body seemed tuned to him. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. Not a bold grab, just a touch, testing me. I didn't pull away. Looking back now, I realize that was the real moment of no return. Not when we kissed. Not when we crossed that final line. But that night, in that diner, when I let his fingers linger against mine, when I sat there knowing exactly where this road was heading. And I didn't walk away. I could hear the warnings echoing in my head. My sister, my friend, even my own instincts. "He's dangerous. Stay away. Don't get too close." But sitting across from him, with that crooked smile and that unshakable confidence, I didn't want to stay away. I wanted to dive headfirst into the danger, no matter the cost. The first time we almost kissed, it was raining. We had gone for a late-night drive after the gym, just talking, laughing, the windows fogging up from the heat inside the car. He pulled over on a quiet street, the rain tapping softly against the windshield. There was a pause. The kind of pause that hangs heavy in the air, thick with unspoken things. He leaned closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath. My heart thundered in my chest. My lips parted, waiting, wanting. And then I jerked back, panic flooding me. "I can't," I whispered, shaking my head. He didn't push. He just leaned back, smirked that knowing smirk, and said, "Not yet." Those two words haunted me for days. Not yet. Because deep down, I knew he was right. That night, I went home to my husband and forced myself to act normal. I smiled, kissed him, asked about his day. But inside, I was somewhere else. With someone else. I lay awake long after he fell asleep, staring into the dark, my skin tingling with the ghost of a kiss that never happened. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to stop. At this point, I should probably remind you. Backhand index pointing right if you're still with me. If you're still listening to this story, make sure you like this video, share it, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Because trust me, it only gets messier from here. The pull of temptation is like gravity. Once you're in its grip, fighting it feels impossible. I kept telling myself I was strong enough, that I could keep things under control. But with every touch, every look, every late-night text, the line between harmless and dangerous blurred until it disappeared completely. And when we finally crossed it, there was no going back. But that's another chapter. There's always a moment when you know you've gone too far. A moment when the lie is no longer just a cover, it becomes a weapon you use to protect the thing you don't want to give up. For me, that night started with another lie. "I'm working late," I told my husband, grabbing my bag and kissing him quickly before heading out the door. My heart raced as I said it, but my face stayed calm. I'd gotten good at this part, too good. But I wasn't going to work. I was going to him. We had been dancing around it for weeks. The looks, the touches, the almost kisses that left me shaking with both fear and hunger. Every time I swore I wouldn't let it go further. And every time I found myself right back in his orbit, unable to resist. That night, he texted me one line. "No more running." And I knew exactly what he meant. His apartment was small, tucked away in a quiet complex on the edge of town. I had never been there before, though he'd offered plenty of times. But as I walked up the stairs, my stomach flipped in ways I couldn't control. Every step I took echoed like a drumbeat of guilt and anticipation. When he opened the door, he didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me, his eyes pulling me in the way they always did. And then, without another word, he reached for me. The kiss was fast, rough, years of pent-up hunger crashing into me all at once. My back hit the door as it shut behind me, his hands tangled in my hair, mine clutching at his shirt like I was drowning. I should have stopped him. I should have pushed him away, reminded him, and myself, that I was married, that this was wrong, that I was risking everything. But I didn't. I let myself fall. It's hard to explain what that moment felt like unless you've lived it. It wasn't just lust. It wasn't just the thrill of something forbidden. It was release. Release from the numbness I had been carrying in my marriage, release from the version of myself that had been buried under responsibilities and routines. For the first time in years, I felt alive. He carried me to the couch, lips never leaving mine. My thoughts blurred, my body moving before my mind could catch up. Every touch, every breath, every sound pulled me deeper into a place I knew I shouldn't be. I wanted to hate myself. But all I felt was fire. Halfway through, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the dark window across the room. My hair was a mess, my lipstick smeared, my wedding ring glinting under the dim light. The sight jolted me, a sharp reminder of who I really was. But instead of stopping me, it did the opposite. It made me reckless. When it was over, I lay there on the couch, my chest rising and falling, my skin damp with sweat. He leaned back, smirking, and said softly, "Told you not to run." I wanted to reply, but words wouldn't come. My throat felt tight, my mind spinning. All I could think was, it happened. I did it. I can't take it back now. And the worst part? I didn't regret it. Not one bit. I know what you're thinking. I know how it sounds. Some of you might even be judging me already, shaking your heads, calling me names I've already called myself 1,000 times. And maybe I deserve it. But I also know some of you are still here because you understand. Because you've been in that place too, the place where wrong feels better than right, where desire drowns out reason. And if you're still here, listening to me bear it all, then do me a favor. Backhand index pointing right like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because this story isn't over yet. When I left his apartment that night, the world looked different. The air felt sharper, the lights brighter, every sound louder. My heart hammered in my chest the whole drive home, my fingers gripping the steering wheel so tight they ached. I kept rehearsing excuses in my head, what I would say if my husband asked why I was late, why I smelled different, why I looked so flushed. But when I walked in the door, he barely looked up from the TV. "Hey, babe," he said casually, a half-empty beer in his hand. "Long day?" "Yeah," I replied, forcing a smile. "Long day." And just like that, the lie slipped into place. That night, lying next to him in bed, I felt two things at once. The first was guilt. Heavy, suffocating guilt that I had broken every vow I had ever made, that I was living a double life, that I had crossed a line I could never uncross. The second was exhilaration. Because I couldn't stop replaying it in my mind. The way he touched me, the way he made me feel, the way I had come alive in his arms. And deep down, I knew this wasn't a one-time thing. I knew I was going back. I had opened a door that could never be shut again. In the days that followed, I walked around in a haze. Every text from him sent a thrill through me, every stolen glance made my pulse race. I found myself checking the mirror more often, fixing my hair, smiling for no reason. It was like a drug. And I was already addicted. They warned me. They all warned me. And they were right. But I didn't care. Because everything I thought I was missing, everything I thought I had lost in my marriage, I had just found in him. And I wasn't about to let it go. After that first night, everything changed. I walked back into my house like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just betrayed the man who trusted me the most. But the truth was, I wasn't the same woman anymore. Something inside me had cracked wide open, and there was no patching it back together. Every smile I gave my husband, every dinner we shared, every casual love you felt rehearsed. Not because I didn't love him, at least, not in my own way, but because a part of me had been claimed by someone else. And that part refused to let go. In the beginning, I thought I'd feel sick with regret. I thought the weight of what I'd done would crush me. But it didn't. Instead, I felt alive. I had a secret now. A dangerous, intoxicating secret that followed me everywhere. When my husband held my hand, I remembered how his hands felt on me. When I cooked dinner, I remembered the taste of his mouth. When I lay in bed at night, pretending to sleep, I replayed every detail until my body ached with wanting him again. I wasn't just living my life anymore, I was living two lives. Managing the lies became its own skill set. I started keeping a separate bag in my car, perfume, mints, a change of clothes. I timed my errands with precision, knowing exactly how long it would take me to get home so nothing seemed suspicious. I even downloaded a second messaging app, hidden behind a generic-looking icon, so our conversations wouldn't pop up on my regular phone screen. The scariest part? I got good at it. Better than I ever imagined. Work was crazy today, I'd say casually, slipping my shoes off by the door. Jenna and I grabbed dinner after class, I'd tell him, kissing his cheek, my stomach still warm from someone else's touch. He never questioned me. He never looked twice. And that made it easier. But easy didn't mean safe. There were close calls. One afternoon, my husband hugged me the second I walked in. His nose brushed my hair, and for a heartbeat, I froze. Could he smell the cologne still clinging to my skin? Could he tell my pulse was racing? "You smell nice," he said with a smile. "New shampoo?" "Yeah," I lied quickly, forcing a laugh. "Picked it up at the store today." Another time, he called while I was with him. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, my husband's name glowing on the screen. I panicked, shoving it away, but he just smirked, brushing his fingers along my cheek. "Answer it," he teased. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I silenced it, my heart pounding in my ears. Later, I told my husband I'd been driving and couldn't pick up. He believed me without a second thought. The thrill of getting away with it sent shivers through me. The truth is, lying became addictive. I didn't just lie to protect myself, I lied because it gave me power. I could shape my reality any way I wanted. I could be the loyal wife and the reckless lover, two women wrapped up in one. And every time I got away with it. Every time he touched me and I came home without being caught, I felt unstoppable. It terrified me how much I loved it. But with the thrill came guilt, and the guilt came in waves. It hit me in the quiet moments, the way my husband looked at me with soft eyes when I cooked his favorite meal, the way he rubbed my shoulders after a long day, the way he never once doubted my excuses. Sometimes I'd watch him sleeping and feel tears sting my eyes. I'd whisper "I'm sorry" into the dark, knowing he would never hear me, knowing I didn't mean it enough to stop. Because the second my phone buzzed with his name, the guilt vanished, replaced by that sharp rush of anticipation. I was hooked. He made me feel like I was more than just someone's wife. With him, I wasn't the woman who paid bills, folded laundry, and hosted family barbecues. I was electric. I was dangerous. I was desired. One night, as I was leaving his apartment, he grabbed my hand and pulled me close. "You're mine now," he whispered against my ear. The words should have scared me. Maybe they did, just a little. But mostly, they thrilled me. Because part of me wanted to be his. I found myself chasing that feeling more and more. Some nights I'd make up excuses just to see him. I'd linger at the gym, hoping he'd happen to show up. I'd drive past his place, just to feel close. And when we were together, time didn't exist. Hours slipped away like minutes, and I'd always leave wanting more. But no matter how much I had, it was never enough. Halfway through this wild ride, I need to stop and remind you. Backhand index pointing right if you're still here, listening to me spill my truth. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Because the deeper this story goes, the more dangerous it gets. And you won't want to miss it. The danger wasn't just about being caught. It was emotional. I started to care for him in ways I didn't expect. It wasn't just lust anymore. It was something deeper, something I didn't want to name. I'd think about him when I was cooking dinner. I'd imagine what it would be like if he were the one sitting across the table instead of my husband. That thought scared me more than anything. Because it meant this wasn't just about passion anymore. It was about love. Or at least, something close to it. Still, I kept going. Each day, the line between my two lives blurred more. I became an actress, slipping into whichever role fit the moment. Wife. Lover. Homemaker. Seductress. And the scariest part was, I didn't know which version of me was real anymore. Was I the faithful wife who kept a tidy home and smiled at neighborhood barbecues? Or was I the reckless woman sneaking off to a lover's apartment, heart racing, body on fire? Maybe I was both. Maybe I was neither. All I knew was that I couldn't stop. They warned me about him. They told me he was dangerous, that I'd lose myself if I let him in. And they were right. But the more I lost myself, the more I felt alive. And by then, it didn't matter what was true or false. All that mattered was that I was his. Sometimes, I lie awake at night and wonder how I've gotten away with it for so long. There are nights I lie next to my husband, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, and I almost laugh at the absurdity of it all. He has no idea. He doesn't suspect a thing. If he does, he's never said a word. And yet, my whole life has been split in two, my marriage on one side, my secret on the other. The scariest part? I don't know if I ever want to give it up. It's strange, the way you can live two completely different lives and still function. To my neighbors, I'm the woman who brings casseroles to the block party, the one who waves politely while watering her flowers in the front yard. At work, I'm the reliable one, the woman who never misses a deadline. To my husband's family, I'm the perfect wife who keeps everything running smoothly. But beneath all that, I'm someone else entirely. I'm the woman who sneaks out under the cover of excuses, who hides a second phone just to keep the connection alive, who erases text threads like they're sins written in ink. I'm the woman who trembles with excitement every time she sees headlights pull up to the corner where he waits for me. And I'm the woman who can't stop going back. They warned me about him. They told me he was trouble. That once he got under my skin, I'd never be free of him. That he'd consume me, ruin me, tear apart everything I thought I had. And they were right. Because the truth is, I'm not free. I don't even want to be. I used to think affairs were only about the physical. About sex, lust, the thrill of sneaking around. And yes, it started that way. But it became more than that. He became more than that. When I'm with him, it's like stepping into another world. A world where I'm not just a wife or a housekeeper or a coworker. A world where I'm desired, wanted, seen. He looks at me like I'm the only woman in the room, and that kind of power, it's addictive. Even now, as I sit here telling you this story, I know he could text me at any second and I'd drop everything just to see him. That's how deep it goes. But living like this comes with a cost. Every lie weighs on me, even if only for a moment. Every time my husband asks about my day, I feel a sting of guilt before I plaster on a smile. Every anniversary dinner, every holiday photo, every tender kiss on the cheek, behind all of it, I'm hiding the truth. Sometimes I think about what would happen if it all came crashing down. If he found out. If my family knew. If the whispers turned into full-blown scandal. Would he leave me? Would he hate me? Would he forgive me? The answer doesn't matter, because I'll never let him find out. This secret, it's mine. And it will stay mine. I've gotten better at living the double life. Too good, maybe. I can slip from one role to the other without hesitation, smiling at my husband in the morning and moaning into someone else's arms by night. It sounds cruel, doesn't it? It probably is. But I've stopped asking myself whether I'm a good person or a bad one. I've stopped measuring my choices against what's right or wrong. Because the truth is, I don't regret it. Not even now. If anything, I regret not doing it sooner. Sometimes, when I'm lying in his bed, tangled in his sheets, he'll trace a line down my arm and whisper, "You're mine." And the terrifying thing? I believe him. Because part of me is his. Maybe the most important part. And no matter what anyone says, no matter how dangerous it is, no matter how much I risk, I don't want to give it back. So yes, everything they warned me about was true. They told me he'd get in my head. He did. They told me he'd make me lose myself. He has. They told me he'd ruin me. And maybe, in a way, he already has. But if this is ruin, then maybe I don't want to be whole again. As I finish this confession, I want you to think about something. We all have secrets. Maybe not as big as mine, maybe not as dangerous. But we all have pieces of ourselves we keep hidden, stories we'll never say out loud. This is mine. And I'm only sharing it here, anonymously, because I know it will never come back to me. My husband will never know. My friends will never know. My family will never know. But you know now. You've walked with me through this story, through the danger, the lies, the passion, the thrill. You've seen the truth I can't say anywhere else. And for that, I'll give you one last piece of honesty. I don't know if I'll ever stop. Before I go, I'll remind you one last time. Backhand index pointing right if you've stayed with me through this entire confession. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone you trust, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story. Because as long as I keep living this double life, I'll have more to tell. And until the day I'm caught, if that day ever comes, this secret stays between us.